Too often, we're guided by the values which are ingrained, not defined. Great culture and action put your defined values into practice. Welcome to the Drew Coaching Podcast. My name is Eric Drew, and Drew Coaching raises up leaders who shape the future. The podcast is a weekly boost for your leadership in 10 minutes or less, and I'm so excited for Season 3, Cheat Codes for Uncertain Times. The cheat codes that we're putting into practice are clarity, competence, and culture, and we're already getting rave reviews. It sounds like you are living in uncertain times, and this is helpful, so I'm glad that we can connect here. You know, when living and leading in uncertain times, clarity is the first cheat code. Without clarity, confusion, anxiety, and frustration will reign. So far, we've looked at clarity of purpose and clarity of outcomes. So this week, we dive deeper by getting clarity around our values. So what do you really value? I'm not asking about your aspirational values. It's easy to say that you value creativity or innovation, but do you really make the time for creative thinking? Then, do you embrace innovation when it means that you have to change the way you've always done something? Too many of our teams and organizations tout their aspirational values, but don't put them into practice. If you want to see what you really value, you can look at two places: your budget and your calendar. Where are you investing your funds, and how are you investing your time? If I had to guess, some of the values that you write down and share might be reflected in your budget and time, but some of them probably aren't. If I had to guess, the ones which are most important for your success actually might not be in your budget or your calendar. We get clarity of values by acting them out, by putting them into practice, by using them to make decisions, by celebrating where people are demonstrating them or acting in line with them. So there are two things I want you to do this week to clarify and strengthen your values. The first thing I want you to do is to do a values audit. I want you to ask and examine, are the values that you hope for actually guiding your work? To do this, find some time to open your budget and calendar. Look at your budget first. What are the largest expenses? Are there any areas without financial support or enough financial support? Then think about the values that you have written down. Lots of teams value excellence, innovation, risk-taking, integrity, communication. You may have those or others. So, based on yours, how are they reflected in your budget? How is innovation being funded in your budget? How is your value for excellence reflected in your budget? Do this for all of your values. Once you look at your budget, I want you to open up your calendar. What are the 3 activities that have taken most of your time in the past week or two? Is there anything that is stuck or not making progress because you don't have enough time for it? Then again, look at your values. How are your values reflected in how you spend your time? Maybe you make time in meetings to celebrate team members acting out your values. Maybe you set 3 hours per week aside for creativity, deep work, and chasing down new ideas. In both your budget and your calendar, as you do this audit, you're going to find investments that align with your values and investments of time and money that don't. That's okay. Clarity starts by doing an audit of your values. Is there one that is really guiding your money, time, and decisions? Is there a value missing from your action? Use this to define your aspirational values and your actual values. Your actual values are the ones being supported by your money and time. Your aspirational values are the ones you probably wrote down and hoped for, but they aren't ingrained yet. They're not guiding your work. So far, they're just an aspiration. So that's first step. Do a values audit. And I want you to put 1 or 2 of those values into practice. That's step number 2. Just pick 1 or 2, put them into action. Think about this a couple different ways. The first way is actually to practice the values we want, but we're not doing them yet. If you want to value excellence, but your marketing materials are full of typos or missing deadlines, get additional review time on your calendar. Make enough time to actually review, pay attention to the details, and ensure excellent results. I bet you have a few values that you're not putting into practice, but you could. So you could start by being intentional about the values you're putting into practice. A second way to put your values into practice is to notice and correct a misalignment of values. I know an organization that says it values raising up young leaders, but if you look at the budget, a very small percentage of their money is actually dedicated to doing this. There aren't younger voices on any of their important projects or teams. Their actual value seems to be avoiding conflict, and they fill their teams with people who basically keep things moving the way they always have. It'd be a major shift to put their value of raising up young leaders into practice. They'd have to shift some of the people working on their teams and projects. They'd have to shift some of their financial investments. This would be tough, but we put our values into practice by noticing and correcting where there's a misalignment of values. So our first cheat code in times of uncertainty is clarity. This week, we're getting clearer about our values. First, we're doing a values audit, and then we're putting them into practice, either by adding aspirational values or correcting a misalignment of values. As you're working on this, let me ask you a few questions. So on a scale of 1 to 10, how clear are your values? What would be different if you scored a 9 or a 10? And I want you to think about one project or initiative that you're involved in. Which of your values does it align with? Is there any misalignment? Finally, I want to work to correct one misalignment of values that exists in your team or organization. Name the aspirational value that isn't being lived into yet, the actual value that is being demonstrated, and make a plan to act differently. Hey, we're navigating through uncertain times. But as we clarify values, we ensure that we're acting on and moving in line with our commitments. As you're doing this, I'd love to see you on social media, hear about your goals and progress. We're on Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook, bringing you additional content to empower you as you take this leadership journey through uncertain times. You are not just wandering through life, you're leading, you're creating, you're impacting. As you clarify your values and make sure you're acting in line with your values, you're going to see how the investment makes a difference around you. You're a leader. You're creative. The world needs your voice. So continue to clarify and act in your values. As you do that, raise up others, bring hope to life. We are in this together.